We have a speaker today. It's not me, but I will present her. Her name is Carmen Rioja. Thank you. That's the last time I'm saying it, so I won't mess it up again. All right. What we know about our ancestry comes from a couple of rich sources: archaeological sites and architecture. We live in a community rich in ancestral architecture, adornments, and many murals. Today, we will learn more about the Americans' ancestral art road. That's such a tough word to say back to back to back, but okay. Today, we'll learn more about America's ancestral art road from our presenter, Carmen. She is a verified expert on the restoration of pre-Hispanic and Spanish conquest murals. As many of us have seen and heard and seen, pre-Hispanic and Spanish conquest murals have been discovered in our area, as well as near Mexico City in pyramids and on the walls of many chapels. Many of those murals were an integral part of the decision to make both San Miguel de Allende and Ototonilco a UNESCO World Heritage Restoration Site. Thank you. Restoration began back in 1996, which is now almost 30 years in the running, and Carmen is a part of that team. Carmen is the president of La Biblioteca Publica, which we are here today, an artist, a builder, a photographer, and a painter who has helped preserve the murals in our area. So please give a nice midday Rotary welcome to Carmen as she presents historical murals. You've got, you want the microphone? We're going to give it to you.
Thank you very much. Especially, thank you for that beautiful poem that you wrote to us, because it was just perfect. I'm going to need that. So one of the reasons that I am researching in this subject, which is the mural paintings in America, going back to the pre-Hispanic times, is because it has a meaning that it's very deep and that it goes beyond one culture. It is one of the centers that permitted that there was an understanding between 2, 3, 4, and more cultures. When the Spaniards came, there were already many different cultures, ethnias in the area. So that is what we are going to see today. And this picture that you are seeing is one that shows that core of this idea that was proposed by the first friars, the Franciscanos, here, that came to open different missions that goes up to California and Florida and New Mexico, but also goes to the south, very, very long, and this practice, it goes before the Spaniards, and that's what we want to understand today. So this picture, it is being painted by Antonio Martínez de Pocasangre. He was the main painter of the sanctuary of Atotonilco, near 8 kilometers from here, okay? And in these paintings, you can see a pilgrimage and processional practice. What we are seeing specifically here is the pilgrimage path with the cross. All right. Perfect. Here's the cross, main cross. One character is representing Jesus Christ. Other characters here are the Roman soldiers and the priests and the figure. Take glance to this Christ with a cross. This is made an imaginary figure of um, textiles and also fibers from specific plants of Mexico to make it very light that you can carry in the pilgrimage for miles. So, understanding this, in the 18th century, Padre Alfaro, Luis Felipe Neri de Alfaro, which is the builder, designer of Atotonilco, commissioned this painter to represent this scene. But the scene is real. They founded the procession from Atotonilco to San Miguel, and from San Miguel back this figure to Atotonilco after a few celebrations and prayings in town. So you can actually walk that path. And in that path, there are 12 stations because it is representing the 12 stations of the Via Crucis. Also, it represents a rosary. It can have 15 moments of meditation about the life of the Virgin Mary in every place where they stop to chant, dance, and pray. So, but this is not new. It's very important to understand that the priest Alfaro, Luis Felipe Neri de Alfaro, did not came with that idea out of nothing. First, the Franciscans order in Spain were promoting these different paths and representations of the Calvary in all of the towns that they were founding. But before that, the pre-Hispanic ethnias had this practice, the pilgrimage. And this painting is showing us, this is a codex that was asked to be translated from the pre-Hispanic Mixtecas and Mexicas to the Spaniards, and not the opposite. So this, sorry, this is the representation of the origin, the house where they are belong originally, and then they take a ship to travel. And this is representing the flag of this culture. See, this is pedernal, which it means it's a knife made of silex, and it has a number. So it's one pedernal. And then they walk into this temple where the priest is giving the words for the people. This is the signs of the language. And it means wisdom. It means that this is the priest that is giving the education, the religious education to others. Then they will walk from their home, and we have different ethnias. This represents 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different flags and different meanings. These are words. These are you can say hieroglyphics, but you can also say this is an alphabet. And it's a complicated alphabet, but if you know, you can read it just like that. And then they walk, and these are the main chiefs of different cultures. You have these that they call the Suchil, and it's like a flag again that represents their country, and they have to go again. Now, this codex is a very long codex. I'm just showing you the beginning of this story. Okay. Now, this is a continuation of the same codex where they keep on walking, and look what they are doing. They arrive to a place where they have these cacti with very long thorns, And they are doing, this is another kind of plant. They are representatives of an ethnia. Look at this one, and exactly how interesting is the decoration on his head. This is very similar to Christ in the representation of the crown and the thorns again. And this is a priest that apparently is doing the sacrifice, right? But we are not sure. We are not sure really what is happening here. This is what opens all of these codex. If you don't read this, it's difficult to understand because this is talking about this is a warrior. It has painted face, but it also has the tongue, the language symbol, and this is also representative of the area where he belongs. He is Chichimeca. We are in the Chichimeca area. This codex is telling us that the Chichimecas came from this area in a walking path to what we are going to see later, that it's Tenochtitlan. And that will be the Aztecas in the future. So, next. Before that codex that was commissioned by the first friars and priests that were in America to translate it for the other Spaniards, there were paintings in the pyramids. These paintings we can consider more pure because the contact with the Spanish wasn't made yet. So this idea of Christ going into the Via Crucis and having a sacrifice, like I show you, you don't find that, but you find the jaguars. The jaguars are the symbol of walking of the warrior. Why? Because, for example, here we have ocelotes. It's these felinos, very small. They walk miles and miles and miles, and they are the kings of the. We didn't have lions, so we have jaguares. Okay, so this is the representation of the strongest value and skill that you can have. Okay. So this was found in the interiors of Teotihuacan. So if they walk for many centuries, different tribes always to that area, is where we find the more complex representation of this idea that I am telling you of pilgrimage, cleaning of your soul or purifying of your soul through the practice of sacrifice. But we don't understand yet if that practice, it only means what we have told now, that it's in the pyramids, a very bloody act of sacrificing and taking the heart out. No, it was a spiritual practice, but only when the war come and only when you had to show this power to other tribes, they will do this. And also when they had a very terrible change of climate or an eclipse, because they were frightened or because it was necessary for them. Okay. This is again going back to the moment of encounter with the Spaniards. You can see how it was represented in this engraving of the 17th century. In this engraving, you can see, sorry, it's 16th century. You can see the Spaniards here and how they are trading different goods and they did have their own gods and practices, and they do have a coffin here that is bringing interesting goods to make transaction and trying to do the peaceful convenium, right? This is another engraving of the same times that we can see how the ideology of the Europeans was evolving, and they were people that was thinking that the Indians were animals, creatures, and they will take them for slaves. And actually, in that time of the 16th century, the Pope had to make a bulla as a document in order of everyone not to print stamp with iron to the Indians in the forehead. Branding, like cattle, right? So the others that were, no, this is people with souls, send it to commission this so they can show that Moses, you can see this is Moses because it has the Ten Commandments, and this, that it looks like horn of light in his head, but it is the wisdom of God that it's speaking through the Ten Commandments. And again, it's the words that are very important, the language, the message. And this is an Indian that it's, in this case, it was taken from Peru, and they are showing us in the equal situation, no, equal level and hierarchy. But what it is most important is that this engraving is the first one to show that there is Noah's Ark here. So these Noah Arks and the Diluvian times are showing a new idea that it was tested, that the Indians were one of the 12 tribes lost from the Israelite 12 tribes. Can you imagine? Well, this grew up as a good idea because it was a way to protect the Indians. Hey, don't kill them. They are humans too. They are Jewish, but they are humans. And I will tell you why it was not so good to be Jewish, but because in the 15th century, they were expelled from Spain and Portugal, and before from Germany and Italy. So they came to America, but they had to convert. And also, the Indians will have to convert to the Christianism. And that campaign was called El Santo Evangelio, La Provincia del Santo Evangelio, which it means that they were going to be founding a huge new spiritual country, right? So in the next one. In the 17th century, another priest came, and to show these ideas and prove the real situation of the Americas to the European king and entrepreneurs and all of the important people, they made a map. Many maps of America were done in this century. It was a commission and it was paid by the king, Felipe II. But this is the one that belongs to San Miguel and San Felipe Torres Mochas. It's long north after Dolores Hidalgo. It's 2 hours and a half from here. But the important is that it's going to the north, and this is presenting a pattern that they kind of acknowledge, but it already existed. And this path, it was called Camino de Tierra Adentro, because it's inside, is the inner path of America, and it goes from Canada, Alaska, down to Chile and Argentina. It's just natural. Imagine that we are ants, and we have different colonies, but we travel many, many, many miles, and this is how the exchange of goods, commerce, and religion, different ideas, was made. The exchange. For what? In order to have peace. You were talking about that in the first moment of the test. Well, I think this pass the test. So in this map, you see the Indians that are Chichimecas, but also other tribes like Huachichiles that were very, very good warriors. And then this is the path of the water, and because this is the path of the new road. The Spaniards bring a lot of goods and they find that this earth was good to grow and to raise cattle. cattle. And then these are the different wagons where they will transport, guess what? Silver and gold. Things got a lot more complicated when they discover mines in this area. So this path to San Felipe and then it goes to Zacatecas is because of the mines of gold and silver. When they discovered that, the Spaniards immediately invested a lot of money. They will give money, and money, it meant a lot of horses, more cattle, um, they will say heads of cows, and also the war need tools, like also they will be armed. And the pre-Hispanic people didn't have weapons. That was a problem then. So what we are seeing here, it's this path and how the Spaniards are getting attacked because they are getting robbed by the people that already lived here. In a close-up of this map, in this area, you can see San Miguel, and some of these are the chapels that I am telling you that they have mural paintings. Some of them just have flowers, decorations, but some of them, like at Totonilco, it's 10 chapels completely painted from floor to wall with all of the scenes and different passages of the Bible. So they call it the Illustrated Bible. This is another close-up if we go inner to the image. And here we are seeing the drama. All the action is here. When one of the Chichimecas or Huachichiles succeeded to kill two friars from the Franciscan order. And then, but again, one of them was hanged before. And we can see the path. So that's the reason that why San Miguel de Allende in the 16th century was granted with the name of Villa de Presidio, which it means protective village, and it will have a jail for these people. You can see again the action, but they were also hunting the cows because they were used to hunting deers, other animals, small animals. That's what they will do for a living. They were good hunters. So the Spaniards didn't like that, and that's why it became a big war. So the last area to be conquered, it's here, is La Gran Chichimeca. The war lasted for centuries. And here we have Ixmiquilpan de Hidalgo. This is one of the largest mural paintings that you will find in the church, the main church of Ixmiquilpan. It's 2 hours from here, and it is between Mexico City and San Miguel. So in this path, when the war was happening, the priests that were doing a better job of understanding with Indians and were having good counsel with the chiefs, painted this chapel with a complete mixture of the Christianism and the indigenous beliefs. So imagine they found a point of encounter, two very, very, very different cultures. And what was that? Well, the jaguar, and the walking. So what we see here, this is a skin of a jaguar that these warriors are using, but also these are warriors that have the power of the language, and it means that they are priests, big hierarchies, and flowers and other interesting things. If you walk a little bit more in that path, 100 miles, you will find the town and the church of Tecamachalco. This is in Puebla. And this is the first, this is huge. The height of this building, it's an open chapel of 12 meters high. It's double of this room. And in that height, they commissioned the Indians to paint this representative narrative painting again, because you can follow. You start here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You will follow the reading. It's very hard to see, but we have an Noah's Ark again. This is my clue. Whenever I see a Noah's Ark, I know that this speech will go to what they say it's a new encounter of the new world, that the lost tribes of Jerusalem arrive to again be one world. And they will call that Citae Dei, Ciudad de Dios, the city of God, or also the new Jerusalem or Jerusalem Celestial, the celestial Jerusalem. Imagine, so we are in the celestial Jerusalem right now. Um, if you come now to San Miguel, you will find the oratorio as an example of the many different temples that we have in San Miguel. And that is why, because the war was happening. And they will have to draw a new city with many temples. Some of them are from the Franciscans, some of them will be from the Order of the Oratorians, other will be from the Jesuits that later they were expelled from the country. And all of the different Augustinians too will put their effort in this area to create a city that will be similar to the Jerusalem that they will dream. They dreamed before. In San Miguel, we have another example of this narrative painting that gave us the clues to what is the ideology that it is the origin of these towns. And we have found again an Ark of Noah. The Noah's Ark, we have now the engravings. We discovered the engravings that are from the 16th century, equal to this painting in the wall. It means that they did not invent anything, because you can walk on and say, what a creative. No, it is a speech, and they were doing this speech according word by word to the letter. Why? Because if they wouldn't, there was a thing called the Inquisition. And the Inquisition was very, very strict, and they could just hang you or burn you. So they will only use what it was approved by the Pope, even here in San Miguel, because it was founded by different orders that will follow these precepts. So in this left, you can see the arches that belong to another era. This comes from Segovia, because all of the priestess came from Andalusia. It's Moriscan or Mudéjar, right? And here, it's the first temple that Moses and King David will construct for the tribes. The first after the Exodus from Babylonia, all the Israelite people walked into the desert, many things happened, and then they built the first temple, and it is called the tabernacle. So the tabernacle now is the core of our film in Mexico, in all New Spain. Why? because the Indians built also these kind of temples, which we will see in a minute. Also in Casa No Name, we found this Babel Tower. So we were intrigued 10 years ago when we discovered this. What is doing a Babel Tower here? And after the Noah's Ark? Well, this is the engraving where it was taken, precisely. And it's another engraving of the 16th century. You can see here the construction method as well as here. You can see ovens, round ovens, as well as here. So this is the time where the Israelites were slaves in Egypt, and they are helping to build the Babel Tower. That's the reason. And then in the next scene, in Casa No Name, we find in the wall this beautiful representation of Babylonia. These are water tanks, aljibes. These are water tanks, aljibes. And what it's telling us is the last day that they are in Babylon before the Exodus. After that, they go to the Exodus and they go to the Israelite pattern that it had to be founded in Jerusalem. They built the Temple of Solomon, but then Jerusalem was destroyed and was taken by the Babylons. So the Arca de la Alianza that Moses was, and then the Israelites were taken in their pilgrimage was lost. Imagine the most dear and sacred object, the 10 commandments in the Ark of the Alianza. How can I say alianza in English? Alliance. Imagine, and it was lost. So it was very difficult, and then the prophets came to save the good motivation of the people, and they say, don't worry, Jerusalem was destroyed, but I had a vision. Remember someone that said, I had a dream, I had a vision? Well, he had a vision. And what he's raising the hand is telling, hey, I had a vision. And he dreamed that God told him that the new Jerusalem is not going to be in earth, is not going to be material, is not going to be of gold and jewels. It is going to be spiritual. And it is going to be in a new world. This is Ezekiel, the prophet. And Ezekiel, it is known by also taken by the Evangelista San Juan. San John, the evangelist, wrote the Apocalypse in the New Testament, but he took Ezekiel as a main guide. And why? Because he dreamed also with the Apocalypse and that the world was destroyed, and then a dragon came and it was going to kill everyone. But then a virgin appeared, a virgin. And the virgin with an angel that it's called San Miguel Arcángel, they help to prevent the humans being destroyed and the world being destroyed by that demon. So San Miguel de Allende is founded on that scene, but we don't see it anymore because the information is, these engravings I took 10 years to found. So Ezekiel said, there is going to be a new Jerusalem, but here in the Americas, that new Jerusalem is going to be Chichimeca. New idea. And this Chichimeca, they do have a round form that was very appreciated in the moment, like it's going to be perfect. Other representations will show Jerusalem in squares with doors and specific, very specific measures. And this is the engraving where it was taken. Because really, the first time that we saw this, it was, for us, it was an invention that we didn't have a clue. So we found this. This is a very important engraver from the 16th century. His name is Theodore de Brie. Theodore de Brie, I invite you to investigate because it gives light. He was commissioned to show how was the life in America for the kings, so they will take their decisions. And this is a picture taken by the reality in Florida, where it was the further that they could penetrate in the Indian world, because the norther they were, the more brave they found the tribes. So after that, the engraver survived, but the priest was killed. Also, Bernardo de Cosín, the founder of San Miguel, at the end of his life, he was also killed by Huachichiles. So they were right to try to show this. This is a newest representation of the same engraving. So you can see how they are literations, one engraving after other engraving after other engraving, but they were following the rules because afraid of inventing something that the Inquisition would not approve. And this is a close-up. Now, look at this wonder. This is the Chichimeca town here. And this is the temple in the center. Do you remember the tabernacle? Well, this is what they are trying to show. Equal, equal. They have their beliefs. They have a spiritual life. They have a soul. They don't have only skin and bones. And this is the ending scene of Casa No Name, but it is also the clue of this town, but also of the Americas, of the new world. This is the final scene that Saint John in the Evangelium, in el Apocalipsis, dreams. He dreams about a temple that, as I told you, is not made of jewels and stones like the previous temples of Jerusalem. This one is spiritual temple. It is made of stone, but it's special stone. And it has doors that instead of being empty, they just flow water. This is a water spring. The temple is a water spring. And then he extends the vision and says, this water will feed, will let us grow, all of us, all of the cultures, all of the languages, not like in Babel. And you remember, and it's going to be perfect, and it is going to be spiritual, and we won't have another diluvian time that we will have to run away from. So this Iscuinapan, it's the name, the origin name of San Miguel, and it means where the dogs drink the water, or it means where the dogs found the water. But studying this, I realized it doesn't only mean one specific place. There is a chapel, in the Chorro that we call Iscuinapan. And this spring, water spring, was enlightened because it was not discovered, it was enlightened by the priest Bernardo del Cosín and by Fray Juan de San Miguel. And so they built a chapel in order to resemble the Apocalypse, but also to have a union with the Indians, that their major god was the water-giving goddess or godness, or because they say it's female. And we will go to that in the future. In Atotonilco, which is 200 years later, we were talking about 16th century 1 minute ago. Now we go to the 18th century. The war still was going on. The silver still was being robbed, and the cows. So this priest, again, dreamed that Jesus of Nazareth appeared to him and asked him, do a sanctuary. do a sanctuary here where the Indians, that is my people, can come and they can rest and they can find me. They can know Christ. He dreamed this and then he created this wonderful, amazing complex of different chapels that are made for the spirit to have a meditation. You don't even have to be Christian, but probably you will get Christian there because of the paintings are overwhelming. So every time I go, I want to cry there because, wow, and you never ended. So that is the biggest representation of the Baroque, biggest in America. And they call it sometimes the Sixtine Chapel of the Americas. And they say, oh, no, of course not. No, no, doesn't have the hand of Michelangelo, but it has more scenes of the Bible because it was a place where the arts flourish and the Indians already were painters. Already. They bring their pigments and their techniques and they fusion those techniques with the European, very wonderful also masters. So we have an idea here. Of course, it is falling apart. We have been working very hard since it was um, the, um, it was nominated as one of the most endangered sites in the 96, and then after many years, it was also in the list of the world sites, the World Historical Sites by UNESCO. This is a painting of the 18th century that this priest, Luis Felipe Neri de Alfaro, asked to the painter that I told you, Miguel Martínez de Pocasangre, to paint to make a very clear document that he will send to the Pope, doing a comparison of this area with all of the richness that I'm telling you and the pilgrimage with Jerusalem and the Calvary and the Santo Entierro, the Holy Sepulchre. So this will have in different areas little numbers, and in the back it will have the specifications of what it means every little piece of this painting. For example, of course, this is the main sanctuary, but then you have a path. This path goes all the way from Atotonilco, does the Via Crucis with the 12 stations, it has some chapels, little chapels here and there, and goes to San Miguel de Allende. This is San Miguel, this is the parish, and it will enter to La Aurora and go here, and then visit also the Calvary Chapel, which is in the beginning of the street of San Francisco. Every year in the Holy Week, we still have this procession. It has 250 years of tradition. Now you can see the comparison. He realized how to show and compare even the mountains, even the distance is 2.5 leguas, which it was the measure of the time. Exactly as 2.5 leguas have Jerusalem from the Holy Sepulchre. So he was doing a mirror, and he said to the Pope, please approve this project that is the mirror of Holy Sand, of Holy Land in Americas. The mirror. And so if you set these two paintings side by side, oh, sorry, you can see that he's showing Jerusalem here, and then all of the path. Sorry, this is San Miguel. This is Jerusalem. Look how round and beautiful, and all of the path with pilgrimage to the Holy Sepulchre. The pilgrimage is very important, right? Okay. This is the pilgrimage now. Indians of different ethnias will have, I'm sorry, very sorry, will have every year different festivities. And for those festivities, they will build these chimales. Chimal, it means holy, sacred figure that represents spirituality and it represents God. But you cannot give him a shape, you cannot give him a name like the Jewish people. So they will comparing this in the 16th century to make the point, okay? Like even the alphabet or different vocatives. And the chimals now have the figure of Jesus here. It's Jesus of Nazareth because he is going to leave the path of the Via Crucis. So the pilgrims that go to Atotonilco in these days, they stay for 7 days in the sanctuary. They sleep, eat, dream, pray inside and indoors, and they will go out only the next week dressed with white veils and white flowers because their soul was purified. This is the poetry of El Padre Alfaro. He has different poems all over the chapels. That can give us light about this that I am telling you, because every poem is made for a specific moment of fight of the soul and different difficulties that we will find in the path. So here is asking to the Virgin, please help me to find the strength and to find the spirit and to find the forgiveness of my sins. This is the center of the main chapel of Atotonilco that again it shows that it's a narrative painting. We cannot understand one single piece apart from the others. We need to see that it is a path. So when you go inside the Atotonilco chapel, the first scene is Jesus Christ saying to Maria, his mother, that he is going to be cuffed and crucified. And it's a moment of terror for Maria, and then it goes narrating for when he is tightened to the column and he is being punished. So the exercises of the spiritual kind in this area represent this image also in life. One will be the actor, for example, and then it follows on until the moment of the crucifixion. But guess what? Hidden behind the crucifixion, there is the resurrection. And the pre-Hispanic cosmovision also has that. That after this, it's not for you to die. No, it's for us to live, but in a spiritual, non-material way, already in this life. I mean, they are trying to tell us that it will set us free. This is one of the decorations on the close-up of this entrance, where you can see, for example, the flowers that are the pre-Hispanic composition, but also letters here, capital letters, that says Jesus. Here he is taken after that Judas received the coins in payment for the betrayal. So they are showing us things like, don't betray your people. It's all a lesson, right? They are trying to tell us something interesting about the spiritual. Also in these doors, you will find the traces of the Moriscan Segovian influence, the Andalusia architecture, but mixed in a mixture with the Indian. This is San Cristobal, that it is also known as being one of the helpers when you are in a path, in a difficult path. The story is that he helped to cross a child. He was taking care of the river. He was just helping there. And that child happened to be Jesus. So it is a representation of the difficulties that the priests had when crossing overseas from Europe to America. And say that we will do it even if it's difficult. We will ask San Cristobal for his help. And here is all of the different moments of lo que we call parábolas, is the Jesus' most important miracles. This is the chapel of El Santo Sepulcro. And again, we can see that all of this is a practice that was embraced by Pedro de Gante, one of the first Franciscans, that proved to the Europeans with other priests that the Mexicans had a soul, and that all the Americans, Peruvians, for example, because these were the places where the mines were. And here he's teaching through paintings, mural paintings. We have that always. So pilgrimage, this is again Jesus Christ doing the pilgrimage walk and the Via Crucis, and these are all of the Indian people learning this other translation of what we all love, that it's a ritual walking path that can help us to embrace different cultures and have one single soul into the future. Thank you very much.
And questions. Okay, we got questions. We have questions.
Yeah, good.
Quick, easy one. We hear talk about the Camino de Tierra Adentro and the Camino Real. Were they the same? Were they an extension? Two different names for the same thing?
It's the same thing. It's the name, if you want, you can say it complete, Camino Real de Tierra Adentro. And it's real, royal, because it was mostly paid by Felipe II. He even called it carretera on those days.
One of the things that they do in the chapels and in the Totonilco is they have something that they hit themselves. Can you explain something?
Yes, also it is an element of syncretism. It is related first for the priests to Jesus in the column. He received 50, ¿cómo se dice? Slashes. So the Indians will do that themselves when they arrive to that scene. They don't have to do it real. Some of them will only, it's a symbol, a sign. But some of them will do it very real and get blood. Like, have you seen the representation of Iztapalapa? El Via Crucis in Iztapalapa also comes from these times, exactly the same time. But there, the people embrace it with a lot of pain because they have a lot of pain. Because, I mean, it's a reflection of what we have. When you see someone, I have seen very old people doing it. And they call it as a way of cleaning your soul, of purification. So it depends. The priest and the church don't promote it. It comes from much before. Gracias.
Your early slides were codex that you said were done by the friars. Where do those exist now?
Yes, most of them are in Spain because of the archives, went most of them to Sevilla archive, also at the Museum del Prado, or here in Mexico in the Museo de Antropología e Historia. And they have a wonderful webpage where you can search it and you find now the PDF with all of it. It's fantastic. This codex, it is called two forms. Tira de peregrinación, the walking Codex or Pilgrimage Codex, or the Boturini Codex. Boturini was the Italian that it was the editor. It already existed, but he had to put it together and ask someone to do it on a one-piece book. Thank you very much. Thank you. I love it.
Thanks very much. Thank you so much. Okay, amigos, we're going to have a board meeting here immediately, and this iPhone's for sale. Oh.
And I broke the roll, so sorry.
Oh. Uh-oh. Hi, everybody. Have a great week. See you next Tuesday.